video is sponsored by Headspace. This is how much information you consume in a day. It's about 12 novels or 16 movies. Enough to fill this 64GB memory card and then some. And if that seems like a lot, think about how much information that is in a year. But have you ever stopped to wonder if all this content is really helping us? Or if it's one of the main reasons we feel so stressed and miserable nowadays? To find some answers, I created another highly unscientific experiment. For 30 days, I could only consume books, research articles, and Wikipedia articles. I was not allowed to consume podcasts, YouTube videos, or any type of web articles or blogs. And at the start and end of this experiment, I would do some tests. So to test how much information I can actually remember from all the podcasts, all the videos, all the books, all the articles I've read in the past month, I'm going to create an exam using ChatGPT. First of all, I used Readwise to collect all my highlights from books, articles, videos, and podcasts from the past 30 days into a single spreadsheet. Then I fed that spreadsheet to ChatGPT and asked it to generate an exam based on those highlights. Let's see what that does. Yep, it's doing exactly what we want it to do. With 20 questions from literature, 20 questions from videos, and 20 questions from podcasts. And for each question, I could get 1 point, so the maximum score for the test was 60. I'm also going to set a 1-hour time limit. Time starts now. This is your virtual reality-based therapy. I do not remember anything from that paper. Feedback from customers. That's pretty good. What the fuck? Who is Robert? So I scored all my answers based on the answers that ChatGPT gave. And 8.5 points from the literature questions. My score for videos was 10.5 and for podcasts it was 11.5. So it looks like I would have retained more information for videos and podcasts. So all in all I got 30.5 points out of 60 from this first exam. That's the baseline, and we'll see if I can score higher after only consuming high quality sources for 30 days. To assess how this information diet is affecting my mood, I'm gonna do a daily survey where I rank things like stress, mood, and how much I enjoyed the day on a scale from 1 to 10. And I've actually been using this survey already for a few months now, and I already have a lot of data here. So at the end of the experiment, we can also compare this month of information diet to my previous months. Because that's what we really want to know. Like, am I improving from my previous months? My hypothesis was that I would remember more, have better focus, and that my mood would improve. But that hypothesis was incorrect. Before we get to the video, I want to say thanks to today's sponsor, Headspace. Lately, my life has been a mess. We've moved to a new country, and I've been completely lost with my content for quite a while now because of my injury. And for the first time ever, I've had such bad anxiety that I've started feeling it physically. That's partly why I'm doing this information diet, to see whether it could reduce my anxiety. And Headspace is another tool helping me during this stressful time in my life. Now, you might know Headspace as a meditation app, but I think nowadays it's much more than that. I think of it as my mind's best friend. When you open the app, Headspace gives you a plan for the day. For instance, when I wake up, it guides me through some breath work and meditation, and I usually do either today's meditation or a session from a meditation course. And when I'm working, Headspace helps me focus. My favorite thus far is their 50 Hz binaural beats playlist. It really gets me in a better mental state for deep work. And if you know me, you also know that I like tracking things, and Headspace has that covered too. They have 2 tests you can do every 2 weeks or every month to track your stress and anxiety levels, which is key for getting enough reliable data on your progress. If you want to see how Headspace might be helpful for you, you can try it out completely free for 60 days. All you have to do is sign up with my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. And finally, let me know in the comments what you do to keep your stress levels in check. But now, let's get back to the experiment. So normally, when I eat breakfast, I'm reading articles from my phone, or I might be reading some news. And even before breakfast, I often listen to podcasts while I make my breakfast. So right from the beginning in the morning, there's a lot of information being pumped into my brain. A lot of noise, I would say. And now that I didn't have any podcasts ringing in my ears while I'm at breakfast, I gotta say it felt much more quiet. Oh, who would have guessed? But now, instead of browsing the interwebs, I am going to read some books on my Kindle. Damn, like, I don't know, I've tried to read this book for maybe 30 minutes now, and I've been able to really focus on the reading for maybe 10 of those minutes. And I think that might be a side effect of reading a lot of short form content and bite-sized pieces of information. I think it's a good idea to use some website and app blockers. Let's start with my laptop. I'm gonna use Cold Turkey Blocker, not sponsored, and I'm just gonna create a new block. We're gonna add YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I'm gonna call this block Information Diet. So now, for instance, if I try to go to Twitter or x.com, it's gonna say this website is blocked. And then on my phone, so first of all, I'm gonna block YouTube, news sites, Reddit, save. That should at least prevent any accidental access to information sources that I should not be using, so problem solved. It's been about 2 weeks, and my impression thus far is that it's been easier than I expected, I guess, and I'm surprised by how little I crave any of the things that I've blocked. I mean, there's only one YouTube video that I would really want to watch, mainly because I helped film it, and I do miss Colin and Samir's podcast episodes. But other than that, I don't really have an urge or craving for any of the types of content that I've blocked. And I don't currently have any data on this, but I can just imagine how many hours I've already saved not watching any videos. Must be multiple hours at this point. Based on my YouTube history, in the 30 days before the diet, I had watched 32 videos from start to finish. I had also partially watched another 367 videos. Now, the watch time for most of those 367 videos was negligible, but let's give an average watch time of 2 minutes for each of those videos. And for the completed videos, let's assume a very conservative average watch time of 10 minutes each. So just by not using YouTube at all, I was saving over 17 hours in a month. And this seems to be on the lower end of the spectrum, because the average time spent on YouTube in the US is almost 50 minutes per day, or closer to 23 hours a month. And apparently some people use YouTube even more than that. And this is just my time savings from not using YouTube. I probably saved at least as much time by not using any social media and not getting sucked into the vortex of attention-grabbing web articles. So the only source of news for me during this information diet is Wikipedia's current events page. It has 45 main events from the past weeks. And the reason why this is good is that Wikipedia articles are boring. And that's kind of what I want. The article isn't trying to provoke an emotion or an opinion in me. It's just trying to tell what actually happened or what are all the factors that you can consider to formulate your own opinion about it. But the thing is, Wikipedia isn't always correct. Just as an example, in 2007 someone wrote an article which talked about a war that took place in India between the years of 1640 and 1641, but it was later confirmed that it was completely fictitious. Nevertheless, that hoax article won Wikipedia's Good Article Award, a status conferred on a fewer than 1% of articles on the site. Wikipedia even acknowledges it themselves. There are many errors that remain unnoticed for hours, days, weeks, months, or even years. And the problem is that most people who read anything on Wikipedia, they never return to that specific article. So they will leave that article with incorrect information. Having said that, I think Wikipedia is still a very underrated tool. It's a great starting point for learning about anything, and it directs you to relevant research with its abundance of references. The errors are also usually small, and you can find very good answers for most of the questions you have without any hidden agenda. And you can't say that for most of the articles you find online. This is my focus time tracker. Each of these dots and squares represent 30 minutes of focused work. And today I managed to get 7 of these 30-minute blocks. So 3.5 hours. And that is the record amount of focused work I've done in, the past 2 months at least. My past record was 6, now I got 7. Whether this is related to my information diet, hard to say. There might be a bit of a Hawthorne effect going on here, because I'm tracking myself, which means it affects my behavior, and I might actually be more productive because of it. So, to be honest, I don't think my focus improved in any meaningful way. Even though I wasn't using my phone to scroll social media, it was still easy to find other ways to distract myself. For instance, we were looking for a new house during this time, and way too often I found myself scrolling house ads when I was supposed to be working. I mean, yeah, it might sound productive, but it's still not the thing I was supposed to be doing, so it was a distraction and I was not focused. And the compulsion to check social media was still there. The blocker app I was using on my phone tells me that in the past 80 days since the diet started, I've tried to open YouTube over 130 times, Instagram over 70 times, and news sites over 30 times. But what the diet did do was reconnect me with books. I grew to appreciate long-form content again and felt more sucked into the books I was reading. I felt like I was able to read for longer stretches of time, and I started to find more joy from reading books. I was able to focus on reading for 2 hours today. So 4 30-minute blocks, and I think that's the first time I've been able to do that during the experiment. If we look at the stats, in the month preceding the information diet, I finished 0 books. And during the 30 days of the information diet, I finished 6 books. According to my math, that's like a 600% increase, which is pretty good. And interestingly, the amount of highlights I took dropped from 234 to 77. And I think that's probably because I was now consuming complete ideas from books instead of bite-sized clickbaity snippets from the internet. There are some things that I definitely would like to read about that kind of do affect me. And for instance, like how-to videos on YouTube is something I'm missing. Especially like exercise technique. Because often when I work out, during my rest, I like to look at short YouTube tutorials about how to actually do the movement correctly. But all of that is impossible if I can't use YouTube at all. So 30 days, or no, more than 30 days since I started this information diet. I created a new recall test, which is just very slightly different than the first one. So for the first test, I had asked ChatGPT to create 20 questions from literature, 20 questions from videos, and 20 questions from podcasts. But now I had not consumed any videos or podcasts, so I asked it to create 47 questions from literature and 13 questions from audiobooks. An hour starts. What are the 4 cardinal virtues according to Plato? Justice. You are able to be part of a community. Intent to move. And Newton's second law of motion. Time and space were not absolute. Explained Brownian motion. Okay, I guess that's that then. I got 33.5 points from this second exam, which is 3 points higher than in the first exam. And you could say that the exams were quite different because the questions were from different mediums. But then again, I had consumed information from completely different mediums. So the exam also had to be different. I think it's clear, just going through this test, that the quality of information is quite different. And the type of information I've been consuming for the past 40 days is very different to what it used to be before this information diet. You know, I'd much rather be able to discuss the concept of loneliness of the digital nomad than talk about how a poop pipe leaked into the town's drinking water and made everybody sick. Also, like I said in the beginning, each night I scored my stress, mood, and overall feeling. And this graph shows my scores 30 days before the diet and the first 30 days of the diet. My 30-day average score for mood was 6.21 before the diet and 6.74 during the diet. Also, if you look at the graph, you can see that during the diet I had fewer days with bad mood or days with score below 4. And also, if you plot the trend line on Google Sheets on the chart, we can see that there's a slight upwards trend with the mood score. Also, my overall feeling or day score shows a similar increase of around 6%, and there seems to be less variation, just like in my mood. But I actually saw the biggest difference in my stress levels. Before the diet, my 30-day average was 4.28, and after the diet, my score was 3.3. So over a 20% decrease. And there are other variables that might have affected the results, but the scores seem to indicate that I was feeling at least a little bit happier and a little less stress, and that I had fewer bad days per month. It's actually been about 80 days now since I first started this information diet. After the first 30 days, I was so pleased by how I was feeling that I decided to keep up with most of the rules of the diet. For instance, I've consumed way fewer articles and I've kept reading mostly books. But it is still very easy to start slipping though. Like it only requires one article or video to get sucked into the algorithm, and 2 hours later finding myself from the couch with my head filled with junk. Most of the stuff online I just feels quite hollow and trivial, and I'd much prefer to stick to a limited amount of sources and primarily consume long-form content. And I think this is the primary goal of an experiment like this. You temporarily step back from the way you normally live to see which things genuinely add value to your life. And after the experiment, you selectively reintroduce only the things that added value to your life, and you keep blocking or pushing away the things that didn't. And if you do that multiple times over and over, slowly but surely you'll progress towards a life that is most valuable to you.